can see him right behind your head.
There we go.
Hey, Steve, mic
He's
check.
not you guys.
Steve, can you hear us?
We can't hear him. We can't hear him.
Check your mic on your end. We could not hear you.
I could hear him through my circles.
Yeah, I can barely.
You can have your on.
It's super quiet.
Yeah, I need.
Try again. Try again, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you real faint.
All right. I'm using city equipment, so whatever I got is the best I got. So
Oh, we can hear you now.
We got you now. All right, great. Hey, it's 6 o'clock, so let's go ahead and kick this meeting off. We're live, right, Kelly?
We're live.
Okay, so this is going to be a city council meeting of the City of Lake Stevens City Council, September 26, 2023 at 6 p.m. And we are down at the mill at 1808 Main Street, Lake Stevens, Washington. And we are also online. And this meeting is being recorded and will be later posted on our YouTube channel. So with that, I would ask all to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, it's great to see a good crowd here tonight. We've got some great Webelos here, and I think a couple scouts in the back as well. So good to see everybody here. Again, if you wanted to provide comments for tonight, make sure that you fill out a little green sheet that's in the back there and get that over here to one of the clerks. And with that, I would ask the council president we can do a roll call. I'm sorry.
Councilmember Daughtry,
Present.
Councilmember Peter Shagan,
Present.
Councilmember Donahue,
Present.
Councilmember Dickinson,
Present.
Councilmember Jorstad,
Present.
Councilmember Ewing,
present.
Councilmember Tagent.
Present.
All right, great. And Council President, could we get an agenda, please?
Yes, I've had two requests for changes. Under guest business A, request to postpone that item to a later meeting. And under discussion items, change A, the vision statement from a discussion item to an action item. Do I have a motion to make those two changes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor, you have an agenda.
Okay, great. So with that, Aaron, can we do an introduction of Frank, please? Well, that's not Aaron, but we'll take him.
Yeah.
See, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. Good evening, council, mayor, and the Lake Stevens community. My name is Kim Klinkers. I am the city engineer from the Public Works Department. I'm excited to be here to introduce our recently hired senior civil engineer, Frank Reiner. He began in August and is kickstarting our transportation benefit district projects and 10-year program. We will be back presenting a TBD implementation plan to council in early November. Frank comes to us most recently from the city of Mill Creek, but he also has prior project and program management experience from the city of Kirkland, city of Issaquah, and the Department of Ecology. Frank grew up in Montana and attended Montana Tech. He has lived in the Pacific Northwest for the past 25 years. Outside of work, Frank's hobbies include hiking, traveling, and he is an avid reader. Please join me in welcoming Frank to the City of Lake Stevens team.
Frank watched the court, sorry. You okay, thank you. That's fun.
It's good to have Frank with us. He was not permitted the crawl or the walk phase of joining us. He immediately went into a sprint mode. getting some work done for us. So doing good work so far. Right. With that, let's go to citizens' comments, and we'll first go to anyone online who wants to provide citizens' comments.
Yeah, I don't see any hands up. As the mayor said, if you would like to speak to the council tonight and you're online on Zoom, if you could raise your digital hand, I can let you in.
Nobody?
No hands.
Okay, then we'll go with folks that are in person here, and what we do is we give you 3 minutes to talk to the council, and we ask you for your name and your address, and then your 3 minutes will begin. And first will be Tanner Ellen. Sorry, Tanner. What's that?
Should I stand here?
Yeah, no, go ahead and hit the podium so that we can get your mic on the audio.
Yeah, hey, everybody. I just wanted to make some comments because I heard you guys talking about the 91st Street improvements. I think last meeting or meeting before last, and I heard specifically about bike lanes, and there were some questions about if people would use those or not. And I'm a new bike rider in Lake Stevens. I've been riding for over the summer, and I thought I just would make some comments about my experience with that. And I hope you guys make a bigger push for bike lanes in regards, especially to our new construction, like 91st Street. So I think one of the most frequent things that's asked of me when they find out I'm riding a bike in the city is, oh my God, is that dangerous? And it seems like every single person who I talk to about it, that's always their first question. And I think in some cases it is a little dangerous because there's many streets in the city that have no sidewalk, no bike lane, 30, 35 mile an hour speed limits. And most of our drivers are considerate, but there's some that aren't. I think for 91st Street specifically, because there's not a lot of alternative paths, I think bike lanes would be a great idea. And even though on Marketplace, you may not see very many bicyclists using those bike lanes, from my perspective as a bike rider in that bike lane, I can tell you that they do use those. It's not as much as driving, certainly not as many cars on the road, right? There's not as many bicyclists on the road as cars on the road. But every single time I'm in the bike lane, I see probably at least one other person there. And I'm personally in that bike lane 2 to 3 days a week. So if you haven't seen anybody in there, I'm there 2 to 3 days a week. And so it's pretty easy to miss somebody riding in the bike lane. I think that's probably my main point here is just people are using them. I see people on the street every time I'm there riding bikes. I didn't notice it when I was driving a car, but now that I'm riding a bike, I notice it all the time. It's kind of like when you get a new car and then all of a sudden you see everybody with the same car you have, right? If you're not looking for it, I think it's easy to miss. And now that I'm in that world, I see it all the time. And so people are riding bikes. There's a big pent up demand for it. I believe that's pretty obvious. If you ever go on Centennial Trail, there's just tons of bicyclists. If you go to Snohomish, tons of bicyclists in the city. If you go to any lake town or oceanfront town, tons of bicyclists in those cities. I vacation to Sandpoint, Idaho, tons of bicyclists. If you ever go to like Southern California on the beach, tons of bicyclists. And so I think it'd be really
That's 3
cool to
minutes.
see this city embrace that as a lake-centric town, making it easier to get from Centennial Trail to our shopping districts, because I think we could attract those people to our shopping districts, and just making it generally safer for bicyclists and pedestrians to get to and from. I've been riding my bike to the grocery store.
That's 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
done. Thanks, guys.
Tanner, just take another second and just finish up.
Yeah, sure.
Go to the grocery
Last
store.
point I was trying to make is I've been riding my bike to the grocery store. It's honestly been awesome. It's my choice. I just want to be more active. And it's been like the best because I can take care of errands, but also get a good workout. It's made me happier. It's made me in better shape.
Mhm.
And I've been going to the grocery store more often or doing errands more often. Whereas I probably went when I was in a car. And I just think in general, if we promote that in the city, we'll have healthier people, happier people, and people shopping at our stores more often, which is, I think, a win for everybody. So that's my point.
Great. Thank you, Tanner. Good comments. And then we have Liz Brown.
Thank you. My name is Liz Brown. I'm a business agent with Teamsters Local 763, the union representing city parks and public works employees. I want to inform you of a waste of thousands of dollars pursuing baseless investigations and discipline against Mike Redstrand, a public works employee of almost 15 years. Through July, the city spent $60,000 on 2 labor arbitrations filed by Teamsters to fight unjust discipline against Mike. We won both arbitrations with rulings that Lake Stevens violated our contract and the principle of just cause. Because you lost, taxpayers had to pay the entire fee for the arbitrators, in addition to paying attorney fees charged by Summit Law at $365 per hour. Despite losing these arbitrations, the administration fired Mike in July. This is headed to another arbitration that Lake Stevens will lose, especially since the previous arbitrators overturned the progressive discipline on which the termination was built. It's easy to add up legal invoices. I cannot cost out the hundreds of hours spent on frivolous investigations of Mr. Redstrand. Mike spent about 7 months on paid administrative leave while the city conducted investigations that established no findings of fault. At Mike's current rate of pay, that's another $40,000 squandered. When Mike should have been plowing snow and maintaining streets, the city kept him on leave while trying to nail him for something. When that failed, managers pursued bogus allegations and issued equally bogus discipline. Why would the city waste so much time and money persecuting an employee? That is exactly the question city council members should ask. When fired, Mike was the union shop steward, elected by his coworkers to speak truth to power and advocate on their behalf. Mike refused to bend when mistreated by Eric Durpo, the former public works director. After Durpo mind punching Mike in a grievance meeting, Mike successfully won a court restraining order against Durpo. After this, as your HR director testified under oath, Durpo resigned in lieu of termination. Perhaps that's what Mike is being punished for. I will leave you with a packet with the most recent arbitration decision, which ruled against the city on every point and faulted you for a biased investigation. In more than 30 years of representing working people, I have seldom seen an employer act with such wanton disregard of just cause and contractual obligations. Lake Stevens should be better than this. As city leaders, I implore you to make it so. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Liz. And I have a late comer here. Is it Raja? Raja?
That'll be related to the hearing, I believe.
Oh, is this during the public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Great. No other green sheets. So let's move forward on council business. Council President.
Thank you. I'll start here to my right with Councilman Daughtry.
Can I do it right here? Okay. Let's see, what do we do today? Oh, see, for the Veterans Commission and the Chamber, we had a job fair here on Saturday, well attended. Got some really good people coming in to just get some jobs with Boeing and a couple of other big representative things. We had some for the city and for the fire department, along with community transit, who I also represent. Also today, I attended the SCIT meeting, which is the Snohomish County Transportation Committee. And we got a really good presentation on what's going on at Payne Field for their master plan, which will go about 20 years. There's going to be some big changes. One of the points that they made was in 2019, there was 1,022,000 people went through Payne Field. We're not quite back to that after COVID, but we're almost there. And there'll be some big changes happening when we hit 2 million. And they're forecasting 4.8 million people going through there. I'm sorry, 4.3 million people going through there by 2030. So big stuff happening at Painfield. It'll be good for all of us, I think. And I think that's all I have to report. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Peter Sagan.
Yes, on Friday morning, Councilmember Daughtry, Mayor Gailey, and City Administrator Brazel, who else attended the ribbon cutting or the sign unveiling of the Highway 9 roundabouts?
Oh, yeah, that happened too.
Yeah, there was a few folks there of, I think we were outnumbered by WashDOT officials, but it was great to see. It was interesting as the presentations were being made. There was 3 tractor trailer trucks coming up 204 with loads and 3, I think, coming down Highway 9. And I was thinking how appropriate this is going to be a mess as these folks are saying how efficient this is, but everything turned out just fine. I myself was a skeptic as to how efficiently these things are operating. And I think we're getting used to them. Things will be a lot better in about 6 months, but they seem to be working well. And if anything, we've got a new outlook on the city. Certainly has cleaned the intersection up and it's looking good. So hats off to WashDOT. They've done a good job. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilman Donahue.
So this is on. There we go. Nothing major to report. I guess I just want to take the opportunity to thank staff again for all the work they put into the retreat and the excellent presentations we received. Since our last meeting in this room, I don't think I have anything to report.
Great. Thank you, Councilwoman Dickinson.
Well, I agree with you on the retreat. It was fabulous. And thank you very much for the hard work that made that happen. I have been away in New Jersey and Pennsylvania all this past week, so I don't think I went to any ribbon cuttings or anything else. And I'm probably going to fall asleep tonight while y'all are sitting here. So watch out. And it's great to see the scouts here. Very great.
Thank you, Councilman Tadgett.
I'll mimic what Councilman, great to see the scouts here. I have nothing else to report.
Great, thank you. And Councilman Ewing, anything to report?
No report.
Thank you. Nothing for me tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Good reports. Yeah, just real quick, I attended that ribbon cutting and it was good to see Senator, now Secretary of State, Steve Hobbs, a local boy there as well. Gave a little speech. He was a key player in making sure that those traffic circles happened, and it was a good event. And I would like to just remind everybody of the Sam Quinones event on Thursday, 6 o'clock at Cavalier Mid School. Great expert town hall on our fentanyl crisis that we have in our country. And it'll be a good event. And I would hope everyone will take time to be there. And then I have a under city reports. I've got Aaron wanting to do a report.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For those of you in the audience, my name is Aaron Halverson. I am the city's Public Works Director. I'll keep this brief, but I thought it would be important to let you know that 2 of the city's new fleet vehicles were recently damaged in the parking lot at City Hall. It seems that patrons of the park, users of the park, have been engaging in behavior that is resulting in large dents and significant damage to the vehicles. We found it, the new Suburban has a pretty substantial dent, and then we were reviewing the fleet and noticed that another Escape has a dent in the same location. This is it sort of feeds to the unconventional location of a city hall in a parking lot, essentially. And so usually fleet vehicles are parked behind a fence or a gate and they're secured. And in our case, that's not the case. And so I just wanted to bring that to the council's attention.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Let's go to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to pass the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, I've got a motion and a second to pass the consent agenda. Is there any discussion?
That's as amended.
The consent agenda?
Yes.
There was no amendment.
There wasn't anything amended on the consent agenda. Was there?
Nope.
Okay. I mean, if you're checking up on me, Greg, you got me. I mean, I've fallen asleep before. I got it. Okay. Okay. So with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Steve, I didn't wait for you. I'm sorry. Were you a yay or a nay?
Yay.
Okay, great. All right, let's go to a public hearing, and the first public hearing we will have tonight, I'll go ahead and open, and it's going to be resolution 2023-15, a surplus of a Vector truck. Aaron Halverson, you have the floor. Or Aaron does not have the floor. Aaron's delegated that to Lori Erickson.
All right. Well, good evening, council and mayor. My name is Lori Erickson. I am the Public Works Analyst. I'm going to start, I think, by giving you just a brief background on why it is that we would like to surplus this Vector truck. It is a 2004 Sterling Vector truck. We currently are looking to surplus it for a few reasons. One of the reasons happens to be that it's an older vehicle, and Sterling stopped supporting the manufacturing of replacement parts and service for this in 2007. So if we do need to service it or get replacement parts, it's either going to be very difficult and or very expensive. The city also has 2 Vector trucks currently, and this one, we don't utilize it. We happen to use the other one more frequently, which is meeting our needs from a utilization perspective. And the longer we keep it, just the more it's going to depreciate there in our parking lot. So we would like to ask for a public hearing asking for us to surplus this. It has an estimated value from an appraisal we had done in August of about $40,000.
Okay, do we have any questions for Lori?
If it goes to auction, is there a reserve on 40,000 or we just get what we get?
I think typically we get what we get.
Yeah.
We did have an appraisal done by the auction that we're going to be sending it to, which is the Murphy auction in Marysville.
Yeah.
And so they're pretty confident that that's the value.
Great.
Any other questions?
Okay, hearing no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and open for public comment on just this topic, this public hearing. We have any public comments on our Vector truck surplus issue? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and close public comments and revert back to
Mayor,
Lori.
can I just make sure that they heard you online? Just one more opportunity if you're online to speak to the council regarding the surplus of the Vector truck. This is the public hearing. If you can raise your digital hand, I can let you in. I just had a few new people come on. I want to make sure they heard. No hands.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion. And Lori, do you have any additional comments?
I do not.
Okay, any discussion by the council? All right, can I get a motion then?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-15 to surplus of a Vector truck.
A second.
Okay, so I have a motion to for resolution 2023-15 surplus of Vector truck. I have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. And we'll get rid of that Vector truck. Let's go on to the next public hearing, which is going to be, we'll go ahead and open it up. Ordinance 1169 and 1170-2023. Comprehensive docket and associated rezones. And this is going to be Jill and Kristen. Or just Jill?
Still.
Okay.
Sharing my screen here. Give me 1 second. Okay, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Jill Needham, Associate Planner with the city here. Tonight, we are going to have the public hearing for the 2023 comprehensive plan docket and associated rezones. There are two separate ordinances in your packet. Ordinance 1169 is going to be the comprehensive plan amendment, and then 1170 is going to be the associated rezones that go along with it. Okay, just for a little background on the process, this is going to be the fourth time that you have seen these proposed amendments. We first started the process back in February. The public hearing on the docket was held to ratify it, and that was under resolution 2023-03, I believe. Most recently, though, we held a public hearing at Planning Commission, and they have recommended approval of these four amendments. I will give a more detailed update on the proposals, but we have four of them. The first one is text amendments to the land use chapter, and then we have three other city map amendments, two of which are city initiated, and then the last one is citizen initiated. So for the first one, it is going to be the text amendment. It's basically just administrative updates to land use elements to reflect our population changes, most recently our reasonable measures matrix, and then our buildable land stuff as we've kind of annexed more land and evolved over the years. It's really nothing super earth shattering, kind of keeping things consistent. Okay, this is
My
the first.
apologies, Jill. Can you share again? Something tweaked on my end. Apologize.
Oh, bummer.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
Is it back?
Yes, it's back.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so for the first map amendment, this one was a city initiated map amendment. We have been referring to this as the Cedarwood rezone because it's the Cedarwood property. It is located at 101st Avenue Southeast and 5th Place Southeast. The zoning proposal is currently to go to public/semi-public, and it's currently R8-12 to match sort of the surrounding zoning. It's about a 1.5 acre parcel, and currently it is used as like a community building. And the city has expressed desire to rehab that facility to create more of a public park type use structure. Okay, this is the second one, M2. This was also a city initiated map amendment. We have been calling this the South Lake Stevens Road rezone. It is located at 9705 South Lake Stevens Road. Costco is west of this project. The zoning proposal is to go from residential to commercial, and the owner of this property has expressed desire to develop a commercial daycare on this property. It's about a 1/2 acre site, and I'll go to the next one here. This is our citizen initiated map amendment M3. We've been calling this one the Chapman rezone. It's about a 5.25 acre site, give or take. A lot of this site is covered with wetlands, and I believe about only 0.8 acres are actually buildable as far as the report that we've got. And it is proposed to go from mixed use to R8-12 to facilitate high density development. I'll just go a little bit over the process and the public notice. So the docket, as I said before, was ratified back in March 2023. We sent our 60-day notice to Commerce and issued a SEPA addenda and adoption of existing environmental documents. The public notice was issued duly for both the Planning Commission public hearing and the City Council public hearing on August 23rd. Planning Commission recommended approval on September 6th, and that is Exhibit A in the ordinance is the letter. And we have received 4 written public comments during that comment period, and I'll go over a brief synopsis of those right now, but they are included in your packet as well. So we had four, like I said, two of them were for map amendment one. The first one really expressed support for the proposal, and they encouraged the city to coordinate with Fish and Wildlife on some fish barrier removal that Fish and Wildlife might have planned. And so it is, although the city isn't going to be planning the fish barrier removal, we will work with them when it comes to the site improvements for our site, so we can coordinate that better. The other one was concerned about some potential noise levels and traffic to the Cedarwood site, and they asked some really good questions about where to find the information for the planning commission agendas. And then so finally for M2, I did get a comment of support for that proposal. And then for the Chapman property, the comment that we got there expressed some concerns with the density of the project, but it is important to note that it is proposed to go from mixed use to R8-12, and that is a less intensive use. Okay, and findings and staff recommendations. So as we noted in the staff report, the proposal meets all the approval criteria for comprehensive plan amendments and for the associated rezone. You can find all of that detailed in your packet. The planning commission did submit their approval letter, and that's exhibit A, like I said. So finally, staff recommends approval of ordinance 1169, which is the comprehensive plan amendments, and then ordinance 1170, which is their associated rezone. Okay, so before we open the public hearing, are there any questions for staff?
Questions for Jill?
Is the 1170 in our packet?
It should be.
Let's see. I see 1169, but there's right after that is a.
Page 85 of the packet, Gary.
Oh, it's
Oh,
at
wait.
the, it's way at the end.
All right, thank you.
Any questions for Joe? Okay, let's go ahead and open up the floor then for public comments. On just this topic of ordinances 1169 and 1170. And I have, is there anybody online?
I'm not seeing any digital hands right now, so
Okay, if there's anybody online, please raise your digital hand who would like to talk on just this subject. Okay. Seeing none, hearing none, and I have one green sheet to talk on the subject with this, which is it Raja? Okay, Raja, if you'll take the podium and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and everyone. Take this opportunity to extend my support for the city initiated amendment M2. I own the property. I purchased this with intentions to set up a Montessori preschool. And the roundabout in the to the east of the Costco and the sewer line extending across the Highway 9 creates an eventual opportunity for us to set up a commercial daycare center. But when I bought the property, I recognized a day before the closing, it was changed. It was commercial, changed it back to residential along with the 97th Drive property by error, because my property do not share the residential cul-de-sac neighborhood of 97th Drive. So was a request made and the city recognized it, and thankfully planning commission and you all members and with the great support of city and staff, and this amendment has been proposed and I support them. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. No other sign of comments for this topic, so I'm gonna go ahead and close the public comments portion of this. Do we have any additional staff comments? Jill has closed her case. She's done. Okay, with that, do we have any comments for staff? Do we have any discussion within the council? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion from the council.
Just a point of clarification, do we need two separate motions since there are two separate?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
I would move to approve ordinance number 1169 regarding the comprehensive plan amendments.
Second. Okay, I have a motion to pass 1169 and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, and then I would ask for another motion on 1170.
I would move to approve ordinance number 1170 regarding the associated rezones.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to pass ordinance 1170.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Sorry,
So I just want to make sure I did a second. Councilmember Dickinson.
Okay.
Thank you.
is there any discussion on that motion of 1170? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, both of those ordinances pass and the rezoning occurs. So with that, we'll move forward to, I think I'm gonna do the action item first. The one that we moved, the vision statement that we moved to action items. So let's go to that, and that's gonna be Lori again. Lori and Anya.
Great. Thank you. So I want to share my screen. Let me get some quick help here. Oh, I see the button now. Took me a second. Okay. Hey. So good evening again. My name is Lori Erickson. I'm the Public Works Analyst here at the city. I've also been the facilitator working with this body of work around updating the city's vision statement. So I'm going to give everyone a quick overview on the process that we covered, including the progression of the vision statement over the last year-ish. And then I'll be asking for the council to please adopt the proposed vision statement. I also will have a bit at the end for some discussion as well around next steps. So I will go ahead and set the stage for those of you who may not be aware of what is a vision statement. Sometimes a vision statement is referred to as a true north. It is the direction that an organization wants to go, and it helps us to be more strategic in the choices we make around the types of work we choose to do and where we choose to spend our energy. Oftentimes it's thought of more of a destination. And in this case, we want to ask ourselves, where do we want to be as a city in 10 years? Vision statements can be aspirational, and sometimes they can be much more tactical. But in this case, we did aim for something that was more aspirational and open-ended. Finally, this will help us to go forward at some point in the next year or so with strategic planning. And I also want to make it clear that vision statements do not tell us how to do the work or how we will behave in doing the work. Again, it's that destination. So what was our process that we took? About a year ago, I was here at council. I think I was virtual, and I proposed an idea. And that idea was to first start with a community group who would draft a proposed vision statement. So we got that approval, and the workshops happened just before Christmas in December 2022. We had about 10 community representatives from a diverse collection of groups here at the city, and it was very fun. In January 2023, we went ahead and pushed forward the proposed vision statement to the executive team here at the city, who then provided some input. We incorporated that input, and in February 2023, we brought this body of work to the council retreat, which also included the executive team, again, getting more feedback and incorporating that further. Finally, we closed the loop with a final workshop in June 2023 with a mix of everyone who's been involved with various representatives. We had 2 folks from the community representative group, we had 2 of our city leaders, and we also had 2 of our council members. Again, I do want to thank everyone who's been involved in this journey, as it's taken quite a bit of time to get to where we are today. I'm going to go ahead and briefly walk us through the evolution of these vision statements so we can see where we finally landed. The original vision statement we started with reads as this: by 2030, we are a sustainable community around the lake with a vibrant economy, unsurpassed infrastructure, and exceptional quality of life. The community group then in December took that and they said, you know, let's go ahead and change that up. We went through some exercises thinking about what do we really love about Lake Stevens and what do we want to see for the community in the next decade. Where they landed was here. The vision of Lake Stevens is to be a safe community that celebrates diversity through equitable access to amenities and experiences while preserving the town's natural beauty. In January, the department heads or the city leadership took that one step further and came out with this one. Lake Stevens is a safe community that celebrates cultural diversity and provides efficient access to amenities and experiences while preserving the city's natural beauty and support a vibrant economy and exceptional quality of life. In February, this evolved a little bit further to we are a thriving community that promotes a vibrant economy, preserves natural beauty, and supports an exceptional quality of life for all. And then finally, in June, we came out with the final proposal, which is this one. We are a thriving community that promotes a vibrant economy, preserves natural beauty, and supports an exceptional quality of life for all. So I think this is where I am now for the call to action. The first piece of this is that I would like to ask on behalf of all of the participants who have been involved in this work, we would like to ask that council please approve the adoption of this new vision statement.
I approve this adoption. I hope everybody else will. It's well done.
Questions for Lori?
Looks good. Would you make a motion?
All right, make a motion there, Mary.
Okay,
Let's
all right.
do this.
I move that we approve this final proposal for a vision statement for the city of Lake Stevens.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the vision statement. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? All right, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori, for your work. Thank you. There was a lot of input and a lot of work done on this vision statement to revamp it from the community. And I see several of those folks that were part of that process in the audience as well. And so I appreciate the work on that. And then I think, Lori, you're going to tell us what's next.
Yes, thank you. And I apologize if I did that out of order. I'm still learning the Robert's Rules of Order. So the second piece of this, as Mayor alluded to, is the discussion of next steps. So we have two pieces that we should consider discussing. One would be following up with the vision, which is the destination, with a mission statement. Mission statements tend to tell us how we're going to do the work. The other piece we could consider looking at is reviewing our current values, and values tend to describe the behaviors and philosophy for how we will work together. So they're similar. Some organizations will have a vision and a mission. Some will have a vision and values. Some will have all three. I wanted to go ahead and briefly share the current mission and values, which are here on the screen. The current mission reads as to create a beautiful and functional community by being caring, committed, and trusted provider of municipal services. The values, I'll just read them at a high level, include integrity, respect, service, creativity, and partnership. So as far as next steps, I asked council what would you like to do? Is there a preference on going with one or the other? As far as improving one or the other or revisiting them, or both?
Thank you for the information and the opportunity to discuss. I think that at the very least, given that we do have a new statement, I think it makes sense just to spend a minute to take a look at the mission and values and see if they support the new vision statement. And maybe that work's already been done internally. But I think it's worth making sure that there's alignment.
You want us to do that in internally and come back and say, yeah, it's all congruent, or what do you want to do?
Why don't we have a little workshop on this?
Want to do a workshop on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do it.
That'd be great.
Then we
Let's do a little one.
just
Okay, we will schedule a workshop in the future here, maybe as we get outside of budget time. To make sure we're good to go.
And finally, I'll wrap it up with a huge thank you to everyone who's been involved, especially our community members who I have listed up here on the screen. I won't read all of their names, but thank you again to everyone for your time and energy on this work.
Great, Lori. Thank you for your work on that. Good stuff. All right, now we get to the meat of the meeting. This is what everyone's waiting for. Let's go to discussion items, and we're gonna have Barb and Kim talk to us about our 2024 capital project and transportation benefit program discussion.
Okay. Guess I should bring this a little closer.
Okay, good evening, council. As you mentioned, Kim Clinkers, city engineer, is here to provide any professional support and answer any questions you may have. So we will kind of get going through here. So this is the second portion of the mayor's preliminary proposed budget, and we're looking at capital today. As always, here is our budget calendar. We have, look at this, we have about 2 more meetings left before we go into public hearings. So we'll go over capital and some transportation benefit projects today, and then we will start working on getting the proposed budget finalized and ready for public hearings. As always, I show your budget priorities, and the capital project budget does roll into a number of our priorities, enhancing the transportation program, obviously enhancing park and recreation, and then completing capital projects that are in process. And you'll see that a number of the projects that we have in our 2024 budget are already in process or in planning stages at least. So I sent out the 24 through 29 capital improvement plan in your packet. It includes 57 total projects, about $118 million. Of those projects, 32 of them are budgeted in 2024. A number of them are multi-year projects, so 2024, 2025. Most of them are 2024, 2025, if multi-year at this point, and they total about $63 million. The 2024 portion of those projects is just under 24 million. And as I mentioned, 27 of those 32 projects are either budgeted in 2023 or had funds set aside. And set aside funds could be property sales that are set aside for a specific purpose, or the pandemic recovery funds. We didn't budget all the funds every year, but we did have a plan for what we were doing with the budget with those funds. One example of that is the museum. There was property sale over here for it, and it's put aside. It wasn't in the budget, but it is set aside, and also pandemic recovery funds. So and then I mentioned in here that the remaining have been in planning stages. So when we look through the list, we've been talking about most of these projects for quite a long time and have been in prior CIPs. So in your packet, I kind of came to let you know how the prioritization kind of went. So the CIP, it's created based on the scoring matrix, prioritized projects based on safety and other factors. Once that scoring is complete and the projects are prioritized, some consideration is taken on other things like available resources and potential funding sources. Looking at those potential funding sources, it could be grants, and we look at whether they're secured through a specific date. Do we have to utilize them by 2024? Do we have to utilize them by 2025? In other cases, we have to obligate them by a specific date, and then there are some that aren't available yet. So we're holding off on the projects because availability of that grant or those federal earmarks aren't available to us for a few years. So those are all taken into consideration. The graph I have here just shows that there were 25 projects that were no in the current 2024 forecasted budgets. Those are not included in the budget due to limited resources, time of grants, or project phasing. A lot of the projects we have multiple phases. And obviously, we need to finish one phase before we move into the next. So those will remain on the list while new sources of funding phases are completed. And this is a look at how the funding sources are broken down. You can see we have, if you do want to do the math, you can see that it actually adds up to more than the 23,880. I know some of you will do the math, so it is slightly higher, and that's just because there are, like I said, there are some earmarks that are set aside or grants that are multi-year grants that are actually included in here but aren't going to be used until 2025. So if you look at it, it's a little bit more than that. But things like the general fund, that does include the pandemic recovery fund, which we have been utilizing for multiple projects. And some of those projects have started, some of them are going to be starting. Some of them are in design phases and we're moving forward in those. The transportation benefit district, that one, this is projects that are eligible for transportation benefit dollars. Still working on whether we want to do upfront debt on those. We are looking at doing tax exempt drawdown bond anticipation note lines of credit, basically so that we can stagger the project draws. So you can get a large line of credit and then just take it out as we need it. We just need to come up with a plan. And luckily, Kim and her team, right, have been working on this diligently. And so they will come back with a plan and we will have a plan to go forward with our bond council to say, here's how we assume we will stagger this debt. That's a plan. And then other grants, you can see that's the largest portion of it. As I mentioned, grants will be used in 2024 and 2025. And then one thing, this does not include all of the debt service. It doesn't include all the debt. Like if you're looking at a potential project that is going to cost $10 million, it's not necessarily included in here, the debt services, how much it'll cost us to pay the debt service annually. So we'll see one of those in a little bit.
Sorry, Director Stevens.
Yeah.
Could I impose on you very briefly? This is a heavy subject matter for the adults in the room. Given our audience, could I ask you for a quick 20-second summary of why we have a budget and why it's important?
Oh, well, a budget, it is recommended by the mayor. The mayor recommends a budget to the council. The council has the authority and the responsibility for all spending citywide. Council makes all the decisions and puts in place a plan for what you want to see in the city. Prioritizing everything from staffing levels and projects, and then they give those priorities to the mayor and city administrator, and they come down to staff, and staff implements their plans. So the budget, it is a limitation on what we're allowed to spend. So every year we have to stay within budget, and we go through this process with council and with staff. And we look at all the revenues that come into the city and how we're allowed to spend them. And we try to do the best we can with what we have to give the community everything we want.
It's kind of like our allowance, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if I might just make one correction to what Barb said. Because the way she stated that, it almost seems like the seven of us are all knowing. And that's not true. If it wasn't for a great staff, then we wouldn't be able to have the information to make the decisions that we need to make to keep the city running. And so I just want everybody to know that we have an excellent staff here that keeps us on our toes and keeps us running straight. So it's very nice to have a good staff to give us the information enough for us to make these kinds of decisions.
If you want to make a better world, you need help, lots of help.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so next, talking transportation benefits program. So voters approved the transportation benefit funding for specific projects. We have started receiving this funding. We began receiving the funding in June. And so this is a list of the sidewalk, trails, and walkway improvements that were approved for the funding. Those projects that are included in the budget plan for 2024 are highlighted in yellow. As you know, we have a limited amount of funds that we are utilizing and a limited amount of resources. We did hire our wonderful senior civil engineer who is going to be helping us to go through these projects, but he will go through in a few weeks, as he mentioned, to let you know how much can actually be done per year, and we will set our funding based on that. And then this is our transportation benefit program for the roadways. And in your packet, 79th Avenue was also highlighted. That is actually not scheduled to start until 2026. So I have corrected that. It was a different 79th project that is actually in this 2024 budget. We have a lot of projects. Okay, this is really kind of hard to see, but this is a list of all of the projects that are yeses and maybes. So in the council's packet, you have all the project, yes, maybe, and no's. So this is all yeses and maybes for streets and parks that have been allocated funding in 2024. The yellow highlights are those that are included in the transportation benefits funding program. Not all of those funds are being allocated to transportation benefits. We are going through the allocation, as I mentioned earlier, between all of our capital project funds, as well as looking at debt. And then again, for the transportation benefit district, we're looking at doing some staggered debt, so we can do some more of those. Also in this, that wasn't included in your packet, is a description of the actual project. I realized after the fact that I didn't have that included in the packet, so it was a little more difficult for you to know, okay, well, what are you doing on 91st Street? Well, okay, here is the actual information. Also, the ones that are highlighted in blue, that is when, so we have grants for these projects, and that's when the grant will be used. About a portion of a grant will be used in 2024 for the Main Street project. I believe we have almost $2 million on that. The next one down, the grant will be used until 2025, when the majority of the construction is going to occur. And so all the ones in blue are ones that we have grants for, and but they don't cover that entire amount. So the portions of these.
Is this in our packet? I didn't see this in our packet. Okay.
It's not, but I did email it out to all of you today.
Okay.
Yeah, the presentation. The actual list of projects is in there, but this the presentation is not. And then this is the yeses and maybes for the facility and utilities and the stormwater allocated. Again, the blue is when the grants will be used. And then the orange highlight indicates the portion of the city hall that would be bonded. I know we've talked about this a few times. This is in the recommended budget. The estimated debt service has been included in the 24-84 capital budget, but not obviously the full cost. Those will get entered, the revenues and expenditures get entered when we have the bond ordinance. So when we do the bond ordinance, if that is approved by council, we do a bond, we get the bond ordinance, and then the revenues and expenditures are added to the budget at that point. And before we can come back to all of these if you have more questions on specific projects, that I assume you will. I wanted to bring forward, I did not have the real estate excise tax forecasts for you during the council retreat, so I did want to add those into here. We talked about what is real estate excise tax, what is it for, where does it come from? Real estate excise tax, as I mentioned, it is accumulated. It's paid by the purchasers of homes. So when you purchase or sell a home, real estate excise tax is paid, and we get a small percentage of that real estate excise tax. Real estate excise tax 1 gets 0.25%. And then I have on here all the uses. So you'll notice both, when I get to real estate excise tax 2, both are utilized for planning, acquisition, construction, reconstruction, repair, replacement, rehabilitation, improvement of streets, roads, highways, sidewalks, streets, road lighting, traffic, bridges, domestic water, storm, sanitary sewer. I highlighted parks green because it is eligible for some things, but all the rest, recreational facilities, law enforcement facilities, fire protection, trails, all of these things are just real estate excise tax 1. When we go to real estate excise tax 2, those are not included. The one thing that I say about parks is you can do planning, construction, reconstruction, repair, rehabilitation. You cannot purchase, so you cannot acquire or replace parks with real estate excise tax 2. Another thing that's not included in real estate excise tax 2 in their RCW is trails. And so that's one that we often consider either a roadway or a sidewalk or a park. And per the RCW, it is not clarified in there as a use for real estate excise tax 2. But there are some reasons that we can use a real estate excise tax 2 for real estate excise tax 1 purposes. We just have to do some additional analysis and additional reporting on those. There are some clarifications on the limits that you can use of REIT 2 for REIT 1 purposes. So let me just back up to REIT 1. So the majority of REIT 1 is used for debt. You can see on here we have the Series A 2008 bond. That one is that one gets paid off in 2028. We have the 2015 bond, which actually gets paid off in 2023. And then we have 2 of the bonds for the PD. One is for the actual PD building, the other is for the commercial. And you can see those get paid off. One is 2048 and the other is 2029. And then we have some capital projects in here, including security cameras and some stuff with the public works shop. But majority of the expenses here are debt service. Versus REIT 2, the majority, you can see there's in the middle there's one debt that is actually coming out of here. This is the infrastructure debt, it's paid off in 2040. That one is the all of the infrastructure, road, storm, drainage, everything around the 24th, 91st project. So that's that debt. And then the rest of it, you can see we do a lot of capital out of REIT 2. And so this is where like Main Street will come out of, so the bonds come into play, some of these. So I just wanted to bring that forward to you so you actually see we do, normally our forecasts are 6 years, but on REIT we forecast all the way out to 2050 or to the end of our debt. So that's how we pay with those. And then my next one is just what's next steps. And so I would suggest if council has any questions right now for Kim or for each other to discuss, we could chat about some of those. Again, these are all the yeses and then all the maybes actually as well.
So I do have a question on the TBD priority project list. It has been discussed in the past, at least with a few, that we try to front load most of the sidewalks, bond out the TBD and start getting these taken care of quicker than just 3 a year. What I'm understanding you to say is that we don't have the bandwidth to do that. Is that what we're saying? Is we don't have the personnel to actually plan and execute that?
Hi, I'm Kim, the city engineer. Thanks for your question. So yeah, we are glad to have Frank on board as of August. And I think in general, we're hopeful that the 2 project managers we have within engineering can take on about 5 capital projects at a time and effectively manage between the design and construction. I think up till now, as he's onboarding and understanding the TBD program, we have been working with finance to try to understand the projected revenues of the TBD program. I think that there was a little back and forth about if it was in the city's best interest to get a bond with the current interest rates, but if that's the desire of council and we want to move forward and that makes sense, that would allow us to take on some additional TBD projects. Frank is primarily here to deliver TBD projects. So I think that we could get 5 on his plate if that's the priority and direction from council. I think right now, the proposed projects, I think on this screen, so 91st Avenue, we have 2 sidewalk segments that are near schools. We're getting a consultant on board now to get those designed, and the intent is to get those constructed next year before school starts. And then 117th Avenue is the next project that we want to work through the design and start the right-of-way phase into next year. But the available funding projection specific for the TBD program was a constraint as we're trying to think about the implementation program that we want to present to you in a couple of weeks. In addition, Rank's considering potential grant programs that some of these projects would be eligible for, so we can get additional funding to supplement and advance these. So that will be a consideration that we'll be discussing in the next couple of weeks. Also, I just wanted to highlight that the road portion for pavement preservation, the first $500,000 each year is supposed to be allocated to our additional pavement to supplement our current pavement preservation program. So that's a portion of it that needs to go to preserving our pavement and the overlay program. But yeah, if the desire of council is to bond and provide additional money up front, I think that we could take on some additional TBD projects.
Okay, thank you, Kim.
Mhm.
I just wanted to say that the fact that we have these young people sitting here is exactly why these sidewalks are important. I know, especially 117th and 91st and other places, there are a lot of schools. And I hope we can make it happen for the sake of the young people in our town. That's all I gotta say. Thank you for your hard work.
I have a question about slides 8 and 9. You had mentioned that the blue shaded areas are represent grant funding. Are those grants we have or grants that we are hoping to get? Or both?
Again, they are not for that full amount, but those are grants that we have. Those are secured grants.
That we do have. Okay. And so my main question is around there are several projects with a 2024 for the 2024 budget and then a forecasted 2025 amount, where the 2024 amount, let's look at the Machias sewer infrastructure improvements line, just as an example. Total project cost is 5 million. Our 2024 cost is 200,000, but then we're projecting a 4.8 million cost in 2025. For those items, are we spending the $200,000 in 2024, knowing that we have the funds to cover the forecasted 2025 amounts? Or
in most cases, on this spreadsheet, yes, but you did pick one that I'm not sure how we're funding that one. I'm not sure if that's going to be a portion of the sewer. Sewer will be, that all needs to be discussed as we go through. I believe the 200,000 is for design and to get started.
Yeah. So I'll add to that. I think in the packet there was 2 pieces of 2 pages that had the spreadsheet that looks similar to this, but that did provide additional columns on the side that list specific grant amounts and some other obligation dates that might address your first point that you asked. I think in the example of the Machias sewer infrastructure capital project, the $200,000 I think is intended to advance some pre-design so we can better scope and understand the construction cost estimate, and then I think also be able for us to pursue grants like Department of Commerce grants, perhaps. I don't know if Russ wants to chat on that a little bit more, but yeah, when the construction cost estimate is in the couple $1 million and the year prior it's a small portion, the intent is to help us work through pre-design, understand the constraints and the permitting, and help us plan to potentially pursue funding opportunities like grants. And I don't think we're assuming that we have $4.8 million ready and available in 25, but we know that this is a priority project that we need to start understanding and working on. So that's why there's a little bit of money allocated in 24 for us to understand.
That's helpful to know that by spending the 2024 dollars, we're increasing the likelihood that we're able to capture those dollars needed in 2025 to actually get the project underway.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions for Kim? So for Tanner's sake. There's biking capabilities under those 91st projects, and the big one is the Bayview connector that would end up next year. We'll do from 20th Street Southeast to 8th Street Southeast, and then eventually get all the way up to Soper Hill Road. That would then get you to your Centennial Trail via Marysville. So
That'd be awesome.
bike away,
Yeah.
bike safely.
I'm trying.
Love it. Okay, Tanner. Cool. What else we have on this, Barb?
That's it.
Okay.
We have just a reminder that we have 2 more meetings. And then we will look to have the proposed budget mayor's budget message available to the public on October 20th. For public hearings.
All right, let's move forward on the agenda then, and I think we're handing out the draft agenda. Is that what we're doing? Take one, pass it around. For you is next week's draft agenda.
Wow. 10 minutes.
I just stopped. Yeah, I stopped.
Anything we need to add, subtract?
You want to have that vision missions stuff on here? It seems kind of.
Did you want to do the workshop that early, or did you want to wait till budget season something? I don't, whatever. So we're not bogging down stuff.
It's just, yeah, and I guess I just wonder if staff even be ready to have that.
Not quite yet. Not next week. no.
Yeah.
Save something fun for after budget season.
Yeah.
Please.
You gotta-
Look forward to. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
January 1st meeting.
All right, anything,
Hey, Mayor, do you want to read the items real quick since Steve does not have them in
Yeah.
front of him?
you want, I got it. So Steve, we're looking at a preliminary proposed budget. Public Works Department report, talking about solicitors licenses, and then an executive session.
Sounds good.
And it is a workshop. And it is a workshop. All right, great. So we are going to go into what's called an executive session, and during executive session, we clear the room. And we are going to have an executive discussion within the council about a property acquisition, and there may be action after to follow.
Councilmember Ewing, we sent you a Teams link. If you can use that, please, for the executive session.
So to everyone who came tonight, if you stay, you can stay. There won't be much to see when you come back. So just letting you know.
Do we know how long executive session is?
Yeah, so let me just make the statement. So this is a discussion of property acquisition per RCW 42-30-1101C. We're asking for 15 minutes to start with potential action.
All right, if we could clear the hall. Thank you, scouts, for coming. Good luck on building a better world. Teamwork is a big key.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah.
Rock on.
No, let's just touch base.
Let me see if I can,
And where we're at.
I haven't been able to get.
There's a lot going on there with leases and everything to get your arms around it.
Hey, Steve, can you hear us? Yeah, okay. We're back.
Thank you. I would like to move to authorize the mayor and staff to bring back a purchase and sale agreement on the property discussed in executive session with a minimum 90-day feasibility.
Second,
You have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
I believe there was some quick discussion just now about extending that to 120 days. So
We can always dump it early, but I think we get 120 days feasibility on it versus the 90. And we can always end if we have everything in front of us, we can always end that feasibility study early.
Do you want to amend the motion to 120 days?
I was just saying 120 days. We can always extend if we need it. Right, right, so 120 days. And we can always end it early.
90 days with 30-day extensions. That's not the intent of what we're trying to get.
I would prefer just do the 120 days. We can always end the feasibility study early. If we have everything we need, we can always end it early.
So we don't have a minimum.
Right, just for 120 days.
So Councilor Hodgson, is that your amendment?
That would be the amendment.
Okay, so there's an amendment.
Okay, so I have an amendment. Do I have a second on the amendment?
second,
Okay, I have an amendment and a second on the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor of just the amendment?
I
Any opposed? Okay, back onto the original motion. Any discussion on the original motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Great, thank you very much, council. Appreciate that. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.